The mission in this movie is so important because it was about removing Nazi Germany's U-boat dominance in the Atlantic, and by U-boats I mean submarines. The war would probably have been lost had this mission not been successful. And Gus's line, whether it has still survived or not, I'm not too sure, but him saying we're giving birth to deniable operations is important because of the time. It was something that was unthought of. It's in the title, Ungentlemanly Warfare, but they weren't going to win otherwise. And that's one of the special things about people like Winston Churchill, is that he could see the wood through the trees. And it was about, I mean, I'm sure he had many failings as a man, but one thing he did right was win the war. And if he didn't, by doing things like this and forming teams like this, then we'd be living a very different life now.
Yeah, it's based on a true story, my understanding of which it was the first clandestine mission in modern times, and it gave birth to special forces. So that in itself is enough of a story, and I suppose it was a story about the odds. The odds were, preposterously against them, and that's great aggregate for fun storytelling.
It so happens that my grandfather was in SOE. He was sent into Albania in 1943 and dropped behind enemy lines to blow up bridges and railways and that kind of thing. And he worked for Gubbins, so it made it kind of personal.
If you study the history of these characters, the journals, the diaries, the paperwork that they had to fill out at the end of each mission to explain, there's a really solid picture about what these guys went through. They were always the underdogs. I mean, they never had the tools they needed. It would be so much easier to air raid that port and just decimate these ships and the areas where the Nazis had the turrets, guarding. I mean, there were tools at the disposal of the Allied forces, but again, it was so politically precarious that they couldn't use those tools. So, we're seeing the truth of that come to life on screen. This is real. This is real heroics. It's one thing to play it. It's one thing to enjoy it on screen. It's another thing to know that these guys did this.
Guys made him come alive and just give this fascination about Churchill and about what he did, and against the odds of the bureaucracy and Parliament who didn't want him to do it and did it behind their backs to send these men out. And the men were individuals who thought for themselves. They couldn't be in the military because they couldn't take orders. Yet they went on this very dangerous mission, knowing that chances are they wouldn't come back.
I think the relationships between all of us actually has a great sense of humor. We don't have particular sort of characters that we bag on. Often Hazy's at the butt end of certain jokes just because he's the youngest of the group, and Lassen is just one of those guys that you love to, I suppose, just enjoy watching him kill Nazis, which is such a terrible thing to say, but not at the same time, because we do take so much joy in what Alan brings to the character, and that's just this sheer ferocity. And Lassen historically was rather unhinged, so to see that is awesome.
Hot. I like it hot.
Do I have a favourite action sequence in this film? Well, seeming as Alan takes most of the action and saves me most of the time, I would say my favourite experience watching the action is I have been captured and the boys are coming to save me, and I'm compromised in a pretty unique way, shall we say. And the comedy aspect between Alan and myself that plays out in that scene is quite funny. I love being on the water, and so the opportunity to actually be at sea again while shooting was extraordinary. In this day and age, one would normally expect to be on a green screen stage and at most on a gimbal, but not even that, maybe just a bit of camera movement like this. But something about being on the water, something about being off such a beautiful coastline like we have here in Turkey, it really helps sell the world and the feeling, and so you can really get in touch with it.
And also it creates a wonderful bond between the cast and the crew and everyone on that particular vessel, because we're not getting to just disappear off to our various corners and our various stations, and we're on the boat all day long, and it feels like a real camaraderie gets built that way. And this is such a magnificent crew. Everyone is so good at what they do, and they have such a good approach to it. It's the only other movie I've laughed so much on was Man from U.N.C.L.E., and I love being back here. Absolutely love it.
You know, I was pulling up to the ship one day with Henry Cavill, and I looked at him and I was like, this it doesn't happen, you know? Only movies like this bring you to places like this, where we look behind us, we've got the mountains of Turkey, these beautiful azure waters, and this old pirate ship that we're pulling up to. I was like, this TV doesn't give you this. Very few jobs do. I said, this is like a dream, you know? And he was like, agreed. You know, I mean, it's just so cool to be a part of something like this.
It was my first time seeing it, so it was really quite beautiful. And it was special being out there. It was special being out in nature. The water is clear blue, beautiful, yet scary, because there were supposed to be tiger sharks or something down there, you know? It was like through their migration period, so it was a bit of, you know, make sure you do not fall in. Yeah, and it was fantastic. It was fantastic. Some people can't handle the high seas, but apparently I can.
Being out, like, I've got fantastic sea legs. Alex doesn't have. He probably has the worst sea legs, but he was fine. He was absolutely fine. But to be out there in the ocean on a sailboat is phenomenal. It just gives this just reality to it all, and it's just going to look phenomenal on screen.
Selfishly, I wanted to tell a story about the Second World War, because that is the spaghetti westerns and Second World War films were what I was weaned on. And the idea that I could take a sojourn into the creative world of storytelling in the genre, it's a natural fit, principally because it was where the genesis of my interest in films came from.
I've been a very big fan of Guy since, you know, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. I was a massive fan of that, and then of course Snatch. So I've been really excited to work with Guy, and it's just been wonderful. He's got his ways. He's direct. He's funny. His, you know, moment to moment changing of ideas, and, you know, and just dialogue, and yet when it comes out, it makes complete sense.
He's incredibly smart as an individual. He's just so well informed, so educated, and really is curious about the world. And so he brings that curiosity into what he does, and you can feel it on set, because what I think that his biggest forte is his dialogue. He has such a witty personality, and that really transfers into his dialogue while you watch any movie he's ever done. And so I just have enjoyed every single day. You know, the cutest thing is when you work with directors that they're like big kids, and so you see Guy chuckling over something that he came up with, and he really is chuckling, and he's like, this is so funny, and he'll keep laughing, and I just find someone that is like so interested in dialogue and finding a rhythm into the wittiness of someone else's brain, incredibly fun and entertaining.
I realized right away Guy's process is this very exciting, organic, let's make sure that we've reimagined the best of what this could be, you know, and if it's similar to what's on the page, great, and if not, even better. It really puts you on your heels as an actor, especially when you're playing a character like so foreign to you. But then you realize tonally, this film is something totally different to Guy, which is why he's so good at what he does. He can put a stylized, personalized fingerprint on something that's just so him, and that's what he did for us just right out of the gate. There was sort of a cool factor to everything these characters did, a pace and a rhythm that was very offbeat. You know, if you think you're coming in as like, you know, a traditional army, you're running towards the front of the battlefield, like it was anything but that. There was a casual, nonchalant nature to the way these characters moved, and it made it funny.
Creating the look of Freddy is always a team effort. We have the amazing head of wardrobe, Lulu, who picks out some of the most phenomenal outfits for all of us. And then Guy always has the last say and always has the last little twizzle on the hat, how we wear the hat. He's a very stylish man. He's got great taste, and I think he's put that into all of our characters. And often is the case that we come on set and he's like, "Ooh, what size are you in that?" You know, looking to steal the jacket after, because especially Heron's costume, he's definitely, Babs is the sharpest chap on set. So a lot of the boys on set are sort of like, "Oh, what size is that, Babs? Oh yeah, nice." So you'll find that a lot of that goes missing by the end of production. And I think generally we're just a bunch of very stylish sailors.
The trick is really to say, you know, what jumps out at you and what do you like about what that man is wearing or what do you not like. And each of them had their own sense of style that they noticed. So it was important to bring that element into their capsule wardrobes that I created, and then when you have them into the fitting, I think it's important to let them take the lead a little bit in what and how they want to wear it, and then I just tidy it up in the end. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm only going to present them with clothes that I want them to wear anyway, so giving them a bit of freedom lets them think a little bit like they're in charge, but I'm still in charge.
When I started studying these characters, I read 3 books about both the character that I play and the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, these declassified documents in 2012. And I'm disappointed that I didn't know more about these characters and these stories already, that, you know, we're not like taught the lore of who these guys were in school. They're so heroic. And I think anytime you have these kind of protagonists that are historical but larger than life, they deserve to be seen in all their glory, you know, the size and scope of what they were, their stature, you know, deserves to be spread across that large screen, I think so. I think it's the only way to see this.
The way that our DP and our director have worked on this movie, every single detail, even walking onto set, is incredible. I mean, you look at every single detail, and the props people, I mean, they found everything to be authentic and real. And so I hope they feel transported into the real time and really feel like they're part of this mission and that they're in it, because I think that that's the way that this film has been designed, to be like a fly on the wall within the mission. And I think that they're going to have so much fun. And I also hope that the takeaway is learning and getting more curious about what happened historically while this mission. And so I think that people are going to really, really love it and have so much fun. It's such a fun film.
Expect a characterful, fun ride. This is, as much as it's about a very, very serious operation and a very serious time in human history, it is actually presented in a way that is devil-may-care sort of attitude of these extraordinary individuals. And it's a laugh, which I think a lot of these people may have had, because they were dancing around the edges of madness. And that's what made them special and capable for this kind of mission. And so people can expect to see unusual characters doing bombastic things.
From this guy, he's stabbing him straight into the ribs. He'll turn him around, off you go out. This is where he'll disembowel him here. Coming, then go into our Shanghai move.
So, by the time the other chaps come up, right, yes, are there any live Germans?
I wouldn't imagine.
No, he's just cutting the tongues out of the last 2.